Hello everyone and welcome to my new series where I go through my thoughts on who I want to pick for HLTV CSGO Fantasy for every event. And this time, for the first video, I'll be going through ESL Pro League 2021's Groups A and B pick'ems. I'm doing this video before OG has their lineup announced because they only have 4 players right now. They've just benched in BK. So you can't pick any of the OG players until they find their 5th player, and then that. But I don't think that's gonna actually matter for me. I don't think OG are gonna do too well. So I think for these videos, the first thing to go through every time should be which teams I expect to do well, and which teams I expect to do badly. So I guess it's always in the ranking order first of all. So the best team gotta be Vitality, right? Based on HLTV rankings, and then the worst team would be Renegades. And I guess some of the things I've been playing this game mode for a bit now. I got like top 30, I think, in one of the events, and I'm currently doing pretty well in one of the I think it's Snow Sweet Snow 2 fantasy things. And I feel like I've learned a couple of tricks and things that do better than just by picking random stuff, right? The first thing I always do is just look at the teams, pick 2 teams who I think are going to do very well, pick 4 players from those, and then look for one wildcard player. So for example, this event, if we go and look at ESL Pro League Season 13, one important thing to realize that there's 2 groups. So if I want to pick 2 teams that are going to do well, first instinct for you should be, okay, you want to pick one from Group B and one from Group A, because they're not going to play each other, right? So you have the highest potential for getting as many points as possible, and that's very important, because if you want to be at the very top in these fantasy lineups, the only way to get a lot more points is by maximizing the odds of getting the highest potential point total. So obviously it might happen that like 2 teams from Group B do very well or something, but just for the fantasy aspect, I think it's always going to be best to pick one from each side, and then the 5th player should be like whoever you feel like fits the role. The other thing to, of course, look at is like the stats and how you want to use your boosters and your, even or more importantly, your role. You want to have one all player in my eyes always, if at all possible. But yeah, let's just go through the teams, I guess. First, Vitality, you should expect them to do well. One of the important things to recognize here is with Shox and Misuta, Vitality obviously oftentimes sub one of them out for Nivera, depending on the map. And how it works in fantasy, I actually learned this day myself, is whoever gets subbed off for Nivera gets the points that Nivera earns. So in a way, that's actually a positive, and you should certainly look into Misuta and Shox being your picks if you want to pick Vitality for this. But yeah, obviously Saiwu's insane. I think RPK might be better than his price indicates, so that's certainly worth looking at as well. Apex had a bit of a break. I haven't actually looked at how well he did after that small break, but you're right. That's just on the matches, okay. So he hasn't been doing extremely well or anything. I don't think he's worth picking up for this price point. Whereas RPK, I feel like, has every now and then not the worst ratings. Like he can have, like, he's consistently doing not terribly most of the time, right? Over 0.9 at least most of the time. And he does have those good showings every now and then. But obviously he's not like the best player on the team or anything. That's something to keep in mind if you want someone who's cheaper. For Big, I haven't seen Big too much, but they are ranked highly still, and I feel like are quite consistent. If you look at here again, Big is actually in a group that seems a lot easier than Group B. I would have to say that if Big doesn't get out of this group, I will be very surprised. Whereas I can see it being possible that Vitality doesn't really make it through. It could be that like Most Sports, FaZe, G2, whoever gets through, or at least wins the group. The Big is kind of a safe bet in my eyes, but they could also like have a couple maps where they don't do that great, and a lot of the players who I would want to pick are quite expensive. Like S13, if he was a bit cheaper, I would be very inclined to pick him. But we'll see. G2, I feel like G2 is kind of a risky pick. They have a lot of potential, but then they seem to not do that well a lot of the time. I hope that they would be better. Like, obviously, Nico is going to be good, but then the other players, I feel like, have very varying amounts of success. And G2 as a whole, I don't have that much faith in. I feel like teams like FaZe very well could do better. Like FaZe under Carrigan lately has been looking pretty solid. Even Mouse Sports has some potential. Even ENCE and NIP, like there's certainly upset potential here for G2. And then Complexity is like the fourth team I would consider mostly. They have such high potential, I feel. And there's a lot of, like, for example, Config is a player I was really looking at because he gets a pretty high headshot percentage, so good picking up for this price point. He's a star player for not that much money. And then high headshot percentage means you could go for the headshot roll on him. If you look at, there are other players, like Rush is actually better than this price point, I would say. I feel like he is quite good. Has a lot of good support rounds. You can put the support roll on him. Price is kind of low, like even a lot lower than RPK is. But he certainly could be worth it as well. As well as Poison. Like Poison is obviously has a super high skill ceiling, and he's under 200 grand, which I can't really understand. Even go for the CT rating on him, be good. Except obviously, I guess if you pick him up, he would go for op. But anyways, also Blamef is very good. He had an insane year, and I don't see why he would stop having an insane year now. Very high clutch round potential, like have the clutch roll even on him. Anyways, all the other teams, like I'm not gonna go through these in detail because I just don't think that they're the best teams. And I feel like there is a lot of variance in how well they will be doing. I'll go quickly through each team. I think NIP, they have yet to prove themselves to me. I don't think they've done very well so far. Like there's some good players, like Res for 200 grand seems pretty good. Like him and Topsky are not bad players, but against this kind of opposition, I have a hard time seeing them do that well. Then like Heroic, I would have had a lot more hopes for, unless except that they just signed Refresh and Shush, who I just don't know. When you change two players and they haven't played really since, like they haven't actually played a single map since, it's very tough to say how well they will be doing. They could be very good, I don't know, but I don't want to risk it. I really don't want to risk it. Mouse Sports is kind of the same, like Dexter and Acor. They could be very good. It's very tough to say how good. Like these are good players on their own. I really like Acor. I really like Dexter. But as a unit, I can't put any faith in them because I haven't seen them play so far. FaZe has been looking kind of decent. Twist has been Twist has been looking pretty good, and for this price point, like he could be one of those, like if you want a filler player, I could see myself putting Twists in. Actually, any of the FaZe players look pretty good as like the fill-in fifth slot. But it is a bit of a risk because there's a lot of good teams in this tournament. And and when there's a lot of good teams, you just usually, I would say, you want to go for the solid picks who you think are going to do well, regardless. And these players have very high variance in how good they are. FPX is a team I really like. They are bringing in Sunny for this event as a stand-in. I think Sunny is actually the cheapest player on the in the entire event, so that's always something to keep in mind. Like if you want to buy someone like Zaiwu, you might want to look into Sunny to balance out the how expensive it's gonna be for you. The other players, I just don't see FPX doing that well. Like Zen is a very good individual player, but if you don't see this team doing well on its in the tournament, it's pretty tough to pick them. Like they are the worst. Actually, I think Renegades is worse, right? Like Renegades is worse in rankings, but FPX has very high upset potential, I feel. Out of all these teams, who I feel like has the highest upset potential is probably FPX. But I still don't feel confident enough in them to pick him. ENS, as I'm actually from Finland, obviously I would like to see ENS do very well as FPX, because it's there as well. But I just don't see them doing that well against this opposition, at least yet. Like, I really like what I've seen from Disha. He has seemed like an absolute monster. But very tough to say how well he will actually do against these players. You could also always look at Alu, but Alu is kind of inconsistent, right? Binks has been looking pretty good, but it's I haven't seen enough from them to really pick them yet. Renegades, I just don't understand. Like, these pricings are kind of insane to me, but I guess it's just the fact that they just have played against a very different tier of opposition, and that's why their price ranges are like this, like 241. Is that actually the most expensive player in? Is he more expensive? No, it's not quite up more expensive than Zaiwu. He's more expensive than Blamef and Nico, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, I wouldn't really look into Renegades. Obviously, it's CS. I have to remind you that every time a CS match happens, there is always upset potential. Even almost the worst teams, even the biggest upsets are always possible in this kind of event, especially events like Pro League, where all the teams are professional teams. You have to remember, and always possible that one player or one team has a bad day, and the other team just shoots headshots. But anyway, go into the picking players part of this, I guess. So I think I've come to the conclusion that I want to go with a split of vitality and complexity. Well, first of all, I feel like complexity should really make it out of this group. I really have a hard time seeing them not make it. They are just way too good individually and as a unit. They've played together for very long now. Poisonous looked pretty good after he came back from injury, right? Yeah, these are pretty good results lately. There's some worse maps as well, but that's, I guess, to be expected. I feel like he could be a good pick for this even. I feel like he's a player who's just gonna get better with the more he plays. It seems like he has very good performances every now and then. We see all this with against Vitality here, one map, against FaZe here for one map. Very good performances here. I guess this is 2020 still. So yeah, this is after the break. So he hasn't had very bad maps, right? These are this is the worst one against an IPA1 map affair. He's worth looking at. But anyways, I think we go Vitality and Complexity for this as the main things. Then we'll have to see who we want to fit in. So, as I was talking earlier, Shox and Misuda are both pretty good options. It's a matter of I feel like Zaiwu been looking that great lately. I feel like compare like Vitality or like Zaiwu last year, look at this like consistency, like one bad map here, one bad map here, but mostly like insane performances. Look at this. Against like Astralis, against Complexity, Liquid, these teams are good. But then somehow there's been some bad maps. Like look at this against Complexity, that's real low. I remember that match actually. I feel like he hasn't been as convincing. So I'm kind of feeling more inclined to go for someone else on Vitality, even though I feel like they're gonna do well. Thing is, he is 245 grand. One thing to keep in mind though with picking Misuda or Shox is it's gonna be pretty tough to pick a role for them, because Nivera is possibly gonna be, like Nivera should be playing kind of different roles on the maps that he plays. So picking a role or even a booster for either of those is gonna be possibly pretty difficult. There's also an idea with going like RPK Zaiwu. If I go RPK Zaiwu and what did I say, Complexity, so we don't need to like Poison. I think Rush is underpriced. I kind of really want to pick Rush actually. He looks pretty insane. Maybe like Config with Headshot Booster. If we pick these, we have cash for Carrigan. Carrigan has been, how has he been maps he's played? I feel like he had one of those carry maps. Carrigan carry. Furia, that's pretty horrible. Entire, like 3 maps. Did very badly in all of them. I feel like he had those carry maps already for them. No. He was just decent against OG, okay. So Carrigan is not looking that great, but I know he has the potential to be one of those players who just turns up for one map. I guess if I'm looking for consistency, I shouldn't pick like Carrigan also, not Sunny. What if I don't pick Config? I pick like JKS. JKS is a good player. So I could go for one of the big, or even Tizian. How good is Tizian? I find it hard to see myself doing this because I don't know what role I would put on these players. Like maybe JKS could go for like the support round, or well, I mean for Zaiwu it would always like there's too many support players, right? That's the problem with Zaiwu. You have too many support players here. Like all of these have pretty high support round stats. So maybe I just go for, I don't care about the role. Like I can put role. Ugh, I have to see which roles I should go for. I go for this. I was kind of looking at going this and then config poison. Going like poison AWP, config headshots. I think this is a pretty good like combination of players. And then like we could go for one of the, we could go for like, maybe you go for like, instead of shocks, so like a split like this. Then you can pick like Tapson up. How about this one then? There's still like 5k, like that great. Guess you'd rather go Hunter. Hunter's pretty good. Multi-kill round is 18.5. That's, yeah, this like picking players from Vitality is super tough. I feel like it's so hard to know which ones you should go for. I think Apex I will never pick. But everyone else I can see like reasonings for. Obviously I was like one of the best players in the world. But that price per int is just very salty. I don't like that price. Whereas for complexity, I really like config. I'm still unsure about poison. Maybe go rush. Config rush. Daiwu can go RPK, and who do we get? This. Get carried. I guess this is not the worst. How much do I have like extra cash here? Okay, that's not doesn't. I don't care about that much. So how much do I have faith in Carrigan? Like, do I really want to pick Zaiwu? I really do like Zaiwu. I think he's just an insane player. I think this is good. I really like Rush. This is a good core, I think. Yes, config with high headshot percentage. And then I guess support rounds for Rush as the roles. So I have like 610k. What if you go for Fox Misuda, Pearson? Wait, this is pretty good, right? Oh, we use exactly. I do get all Craigasm from this. We have Shocks, Misuda, Pearson. Looks pretty decent to me. I just have to somehow figure out which roles I go for here. What are the first games? I guess that's also something I could look at. Like, I think Searson left the op, right? Yeah. And then Misuda and Shocks just get something. I think we go for this. I have a hard time seeing anything better than this right now. Let's buy this. And so config, you go for oh yeah, leader, of course. I can put leader on one of these. That's insane. So headshot machine would be here. The op. Support on Rush. And then for IGL, I guess we go here. Based on like stats. Purely based on stats, I guess. So then the question becomes which one. It's like multi-fragger. And like if I were to rank these right now, it's like multi-fragger is something I really like to use. I really like Defender. Defender is pretty good. Depending obviously on the player, but a lot of times that's gonna pay off. Entry fragger isn't a real entry player, right? Like he does get some entry kills, but it's more like Searson, yeah. Not that great. Like I guess you have to consider that he gets subbed off for Nivera. Maybe it's multi-kill over Stat Hunter. I think Stat Hunter, to get the max bonus, you have to do so well. What about clutches? Is he good at clutching? Oh, that's a pretty good clutch percentage. I'm so quite like. He's every now and then gonna get subbed off for Nivera. Wait, which map does he get subbed off in? Again, I have to actually check. And how good is Nivera at like clutches as well? That seems pretty good, that clutch percentage. I do like the clutch role. I feel like it's gonna get activated quite often. Complete statistics. Go through clutches. 1 on 2. He's got a couple here. He plays on Nuke. But does he play instead of who does he play? It's a very low clutch percentage. Not a lot of clutches, at least this year. Like, which map does he? Is it on Nuke against? Like, yeah, okay. On Nuke, he's instead of wait, who? Oh yeah, that was at the Apex time. He doesn't actually play Nuke, right? Yeah. Where does he play? Just to Nuke in this is, where did he play like earlier? Inferno Dust 2. Then he had to play here or something. Yeah, it's Inferno Dust 2, and I think it's Inferno where he subs in for Mista. Then Dust 2 where he subs in for Shocks. No? Rivera instead of down Dust. Okay. Wait, where does he play instead of the Nuke instead of Shocks? I'm getting very confused. It doesn't matter that much actually, but I just wanted to check it. Either way, what do we put on? Like Stat Hunter is so a hard time seeing Rox get a lot of multi kills, especially like with, or well, a lot of stat, like a very high stat because he's not Zaiwu. There's a Zaiwu on his team. I think we probably go multi-fragger. Around 0.5 pretty soft. I guess if very, very, very difficult. But I think I might change this later. But at least for now, I think multi-fragger is the one I want to go for. This would be the team, right? Then boosters I will be looking at per game, I guess. But I mean the boosters. There's, if you want to know more about boost, I think I will be making maybe videos about how to use roles and how to choose roles, how to choose players, how to choose boosters just in general at a later date. But for this, for example, I would be looking at like, first of all, very important to look at which team we are playing against. For example, complexity fun plus Phoenix. Is there like, for example, a super high headshot percentage player on one of the teams? Not, we can put the aimbot on config here and pretty much always get the 5 points. But anyways, hope you enjoyed listening to my ramblings about how I go through this picking process for HLTV Fantasy. I think I've been really enjoying this mode, and I just wanted to make some content about it, and I hope that there's people out there who also enjoy watching it. So yeah, bye bye.